This is the Stubborn German Podcast. I'm Kevin Ostie, coming to you from the secret bourbon cellar of our good friend Mr. Steve Nichols. And I am joined, as always, by the esteemed proprietor of the Stubborn German, no matter where you are, Mr. Chris Ron.
I'm always the proprietor, no matter, even if I'm in Steve's basement.
You are. Today you are.
Well, hello, Kevin.
Hello, Chris. And, of course, our Mr. Producer Man Extraordinaire, Mr. Jared Chasson.
Good afternoon or evening, I'm not sure.
Did you hear how I accented the wrong syllable in your last name? Yeah.
Hey, it's better than other ways I've heard it, so it's fine.
Right on. Well, this magical place where we are is unique in all the world.
Yeah.
As a giant private collection that is... it's hard for me to understand how public he is with his private collection.
That's true.
That's a good way to put that. Yeah. He just kind of invites random people over and
like us,
and including us.
Yeah. So
and here we are.
we're going to learn more about that in a second. But for those who have heard this show in the past, they know.
Yeah, they know
that you come here for several things. One of them is the always confounding German word of the day.
Yes, the German word of the day. So, and before we get into today's German word, I have an apology to make. Yeah, so
first time.
Yeah,
we've been waiting on.
Are you okay?
It's a heartfelt apology.
Does it hurt?
I feel terrible. I feel awful. Basically, the last week's German word, or last episode's German word of the day. Apparently, I took some liberties on the pronunciation of it. Yes.
I wasn't going to say anything, but
9.
and a wonderful man called me on it, Mr. Tyler Buckite. He came to the brewery angry and with pitchforks, and he was very upset. I wasn't there that day.
Who got the brunt of his pitchforks and torches?
Tammy did. Yeah.
So did you apologize to her?
He was very upset with my wife. There were lots of obscenities. No, Tyler's a very good guy. But yeah, he's like, I would have got last week's German word of the day right
if it was actually German.
If he would have pronounced it right. Yeah. It's like whenever you did the reveal and said what it was, he's like, I know what that means, but it's not how you said it.
Wow, must have been really wrong, Chris.
So,
Chris has a special accent. There's low German and high German, right?
And then there's Waterloo German. So be it known,
Ron German.
I officially apologize to my podcast partners and all 12 of our listeners around the world. Thank you, and I'm sorry. And be it known that Tyler Buckite did get the German word of the day correct on season 3, episode 9, or whatever it was.
So does he get a free beer next time he comes here?
Yeah, I guess he gets a free beer, too.
We missed the confetti, so...
That's really fantastic, and it's making me wonder how many did Jared and I miss out on because of your
I don't know
backwoods pronunciation.
If there's anything good to come of this, though, is that I think it did spark a new podcast topic idea. I think we should have Tyler on and kind of go through... the language a little bit and try to, if we spend 45 minutes trying to explain this silly language, not silly, amazing
here
language.
Comes another apology.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tyler.
Tyler's getting in the car right now.
I'm officially apologizing to the entire country of Germany for calling their language silly.
It is certainly not silly.
Okay, so...
man, that's a big lead up.
With all that,
pressure's on.
Now I have to say this word, which has a lot of those I's and E's in them that I get mixed up.
Okay.
So,
except after World War II, I think.
Oh my God. Let's try this. Scheibenkleister.
Of course.
Scheibenkleister.
I've been to one of those. Okay.
Have you?
No, it's his guess.
Oh, man. Scheibenkleister.
What does Scheibenkleister mean?
Scheibenkleister.
Man.
You feeling it?
Okay. Not at all, but I'm just going to go for it.
Don't feel your Scheibenkleister.
Pole vaulter.
Pole vaulter.
Wow.
That's
dynamite.
Relevant
pretty
somehow.
Good, yeah.
Pole vaulter.
Does it seem relevant?
I don't know.
All right.
Springtime out.
Says pole vaulter.
Uh-huh.
And Kevin?
I'm going to say that it's kind of a slangish term.
Okay.
That refers to a particular type of individual.
Okay.
Yeah, you call this person a Scheibenkleister, and it's a misleading brewery owner.
Oh, wow. There you go. These guys are real.
Slang for a misleading brewery owner.
That's right.
Are
Watch
you
out. This guy's a
trying
Scheibenkleister
to call
over here.
It does
me
seem relevant.
A Scheibenkleister?
Did you hear how he pronounces the German?
Yes.
This guy.
Uh-huh.
Oh, boy.
Very good.
I said I felt terrible about it, okay? Can
You
we
did.
just leave it at that?
All right.
Okay, your entries have been tabulated, and we'll let you know. Do we have confetti now? This is where you got the
Yeah.
German word of the day correct, right?
This is one of them.
This
He's
is
had
one
it
of
more
the.
than once,
Yeah,
yeah.
you've had a couple, but
I think so, too. Yeah,
this
I did.
is
I
You got
did.
one here.
this is a magic location. You are 1 for 1 here, or 1 for 2, whatever.
50%. But
Yeah.
I know this is magical. This whole place is. It's incredible.
It is. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are incredible about this, and one is just the fact that the host is such a tremendous collector of
Yeah.
bourbon with a huge variety of hundreds of different bottles, and then the attitude of sure, crack anything you want open and have some.
Yeah. I mean, he literally, right before we turned the mics on, he literally said, this is an open bottle party, not like you can only drink things that are open, but
No.
we have a lot of bottles that are unopened, and we need to open them.
Yes, open one and party.
Yeah. So this is an open bottle party.
And I believe
Get to
he
opening.
Scheibenkleisted past the 500 mark. Pole vaulted right over that.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
He's Scheiben
Holy cow.
530? Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Man.
Yeah, that's
530
That's insane.
bottles.
and they're not all the same one.
Let's take a couple minutes and count them.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, that's not counting the duplicates.
Oh, wow.
Those are
Yeah.
individual labels. Yeah, fantastic. So
So great collection,
Yeah.
as always.
And
We've said that many times, and we're always grateful to be able to come here and
for sure,
taste.
and it's just a wonderful environment. We've got some friends hanging out. What's
Yeah.
happening here tonight, Chris?
Well, what's happening here? I mean, other than friends hanging out, I think they heard the Stubborn German podcast was going to be here, and
And they came anyway.
they came. Yeah.
They came anyway. Yes.
Well, it happens to be a Monday, which the brewery is closed on Mondays. So Liz, one of our wonderful bartenders, likes to take the opportunity to find some times where a couple of the other bartenders and some other good customers and friends can get together over a couple drinks. So this is the group that was assembled for this. So
And this
Yeah.
is a reoccurring event.
I think
periodic?
loosely, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Well, it's a great thought that so in the food service industry in general, there's usually a day or two a week because you guys don't
Yeah.
get weekends
Right,
off.
right.
That's when everybody goes out. And like I know where our business is in the megalopolis of Redbud, Illinois, there's
Right.
like nothing open on
Red
Monday.
Vegas, right?
Yeah, Monday is closed
Yeah,
time.
it's everything done. Yep.
And there's one or two eating establishments, and that's it. And
Yeah.
they're open maybe opportunistically, saying if everybody else is closed, maybe we could
Yeah.
do some business, or just whatever their prerogative is. But it's interesting to me that you have your team that on their day off decides to get together anyway.
Wanting to get together,
Yeah, which
right.
is really, really cool.
It is. It's awesome. Now we've been very fortunate to have assembled a crew that actually does like each other,
Right.
and not just kind of dreads working with each other. And hopefully it shows when you come into the place, and that people are happy and in a good mood.
Well, it always does. And there's a parallel story I heard just this past week. I was listening to an interview with Stuart Copeland, who is the drummer from The Police, the band The Police.
Okay.
And The Police was a trio, Andy Summers staying in Stuart Copeland, and
Sting.
that's correct. The handyman in Redondo Beach.
Right.
So what's interesting about this is that they did not get along.
Oh, really?
And not like
It shows in the music a little.
Not that they hated each other or anything, but
Right.
they wouldn't be hanging out
Yeah.
in their off time at all.
Yeah.
And he mentions that he's like he had this weird fantasy of what it's like to be in a band where everybody likes each other and hangs out. And he said we didn't. When they were not recording, they were gone, and when they were touring, they didn't.
It's kind of like Jared and I. Like Jared just tolerates me enough to.
I don't
to
really want
podcast.
anything to do with him outside of this.
When he sees me sitting at the bar, he goes to the other end.
He was hoping again. He's like, oh,
Maybe
he
he'll
showed
leave.
up. He's here. Really?
I guess I'll drink his beer.
Schleibenkleber is here again.
Freaking Scheibenkleiber.
Right, him.
So yeah, but yeah, the kind of the theme or the topic for tonight, what I wanted to get into was bourbon labels. So, and whiskey in general.
Because
So
we're surrounded by.
we are, and I thought that would be kind of the ideal time to really, because I could just pull some bottles off the shelves and be like, this one is BS, like, or this is 100% accurate, or whatever. And not that I'm the end all be all of information of labels, but hopefully I can settle a couple arguments with what I know.
So that's interesting. So you mean to tell me that there is not a so on a bourbon bottle?
Yes.
We have stuff printed on it, front and back, sides, and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
The difference being, say, a food product that has like specifics, ingredients, government standards, these things that are printed on it. You're trying to tell me that what is on a bourbon bottle is willy-nilly?
So there are things that must be on every label of alcohol, and then there's things that the TTB calls puffery, and Adam is really good at explaining that. But basically,
first of all, the TTB,
the TTB, tobacco and Tabasco.
That's more.
Tabasco.
That was more than two T's.
Oh shoot! the people that are in charge of approving or not approving labels.
Okay.
So every bottle has to have label approval.
Sure.
And so someone really looks at it, makes sure that it has all of the must-haves on it.
The legal requirements.
Exactly. So you have to. There are some things that have to be on it, and then basically everything else besides those things that must be on it is puffery. Okay. So a lot of these terms are kind of like distillery specific terms, where like if a distillery says this is my small batch, well, okay, it's your small batch compared to what?
How small is small? Yeah.
Yeah. So Heaven Hill that makes like Evan Williams. Evan Williams is the second most selling bourbon in the world. Regular old Evan Williams, right?
Yeah.
80 proof. Or 80, what is it? 86, 80?
86,
yeah.
Yep.
So that's like a probably their biggest batch of anything. So then like you have Elijah Craig, which is small batch. I think it says small batch right on that bottle. So small compared to Evan Williams. So instead of like 10,000 barrels all blended together, it's 9,999 because that it legally could be that.
So this gets into the 50% more, or now more flavorful, or things like that.
Yeah. Compared to what? I think for beer, like light beer, to call for Bud Light to be called Bud Light, it literally has to be lighter in. I think it's lighter in alcohol and lighter in. Is it just alcohol, or do they actually give the gravity, the specific gravities of it? I'm not sure how they but it has to be lighter compared to Budweiser.
Yeah. Is it calories or
not in 82 or whatever? I don't think they were caring about calories back then. I mean,
well,
they did.
It tastes great, less filling.
So compared to what?
Miller Lite, yeah.
Less filling.
Filling than if you drink 400 of them.
Right. This one will be less filling than 400 of them.
It's less filling.
No way.
Than suckling on the end of a concrete chute.
Slightly.
So the false comparison is a thing.
Yes. Yeah. So so I just kind of want to go through some of these. Thought some of them could be a little interesting. So in order to get to the more interesting things, we kind of need to set a few boundaries here or whatever. Like whiskey in general. So whiskey is anywhere. Whiskey can be made anywhere in the world. So we're not talking about just bourbon. So bourbon is a whiskey, but there's Scotch whiskey, there's Irish whiskey, there's Canadian whiskey, there's whiskeys all over the place.
Plastic bottle gas station.
Yeah, they have that too. Tastes like cinnamon. And fire. So whiskey can be anything. So all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon, right?
So do you have any idea of the the etymology of the name whiskey with the word?
Ooh, I don't know.
Is it a
tune in next podcast?
Yeah.
Where
it's okay. I'll edit that out.
Okay, good.
Is it an adjective? Like
anytime I say I don't know, just edit that out.
Like, wow, this was whiskey.
This was really whiskey. Right. I thought it was Irish actually.
Yeah,
but
I would imagine. It's kind of
it could be
origins.
Scottish. I don't know. Yeah, somewhere in that neck of the woods, across the old pond over there.
Next time, if we remember.
Yeah, we will look that up. Maybe. Could be.
So bourbons are whiskeys. Whiskeys are not all bourbons.
Yeah. Okay. So we're there. Then within the United States, so the United States recognizes different types of whiskeys legally through the TTB. So
The Taco Tuesday brothers.
Taco Tuesday brothers, and
Those guys.
so it's the imported stuff. So all the, like I said, Canadian, Irish, Scotch, and anywhere that they would make whiskey, you know, Australian whiskey or whatever it would be. But then within the United States, produced in the United States, you could have bourbon whiskey, and most bourbon is made in Kentucky, but it can be made anywhere in the United States. There's bourbon from Alaska.
Dispelled a myth right there.
There we are. So, and then there's rye whiskey. So rye whiskey can be made in the United States, and that's a legal definition. So is American single malt. That's kind of the new, kind of trendier thing that's starting to come up that you're seeing, which is kind of America's take on Scotch. Think of
Right.
it
Single
that way.
malt Scotch is a fairly common term, but
Right.
single
And
malt
that's just based-
American whiskey.
Yeah, it's basically all barley malt in that. So no
Is it
corn.
like Freedom Fries?
Yes,
Just like that.
yeah. ASM, American single malt, is like Freedom Fries.
Well, I mean, you got Scotch whiskey.
Right.
We want an American version.
Yeah.
So we're gonna call it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, so and then you start getting into some other weird things where they're combining like a bourbon and a rye. Wild Turkey a while back came up with a bottle called Forgiven. Not Unforgiven, that's Metallica.
Yes.
Forgiven is Wild Turkey.
Oh, okay.
And if you drink your Forgiven while listening to Unforgiven, then your head explodes.
Yeah, then it's a clean slate. It's like it never happened.
Yeah. We're all neutral. Except you still have the headache the next day.
Right. But just from the music.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that was a blend of rye and bourbon. And you've seen a lot of different like sourcing brands that source their whiskey from other places.
Do they call, I mean, outside of the Forgiven name that they gave the product, is that blend called something else?
No.
Is that Reuben or
You would have to call that like
Bry?
American specialty whiskey or something, because or if you did the math and you still had 51% corn in that, depending on how you blended it, as long as you're 51% corn, you can call it bourbon, as long as you hit a couple of those other
Interesting.
yeah, legalities, the different proofs and all that. And usually when Americans are making rye whiskey, they're making it just like bourbon for the most part. And so if they would hit that 51% corn, they could technically call that bourbon.
Right.
And if you have the word bourbon on your label, it's a lot easier sell than if it says rye whiskey.
Rye whiskey.
Yeah. So most distilleries will try to do that if they're blending something. So, all right, I think we're ready to move. So basically, then you have like within bourbon. So we're going to kind of now restrict this down.
We didn't specifically define bourbon.
Oh, we didn't, did we?
No.
Bourbon must be made of
51% at least percent corn.
yes, and aged in
Finished in a barrel.
New charred
barrel,
oak
yeah.
barrel.
bingo.
Doesn't necessarily have to be white oak, or is it always white oak? It usually is. But
I don't
guess
think
it
they
could be
care about the
red oak
color
or
of the oak.
Okay.
As long as it's oak.
oak.
I
New
believe.
charred
New
oak. Okay.
charred
New
oak.
charred oak.
That's important. Must be made in
America.
Los Estados Unidos.
Yes.
What else? Has to come off the still no higher than 165. They don't want it like
Yep.
way up in the 180s, 190s like vodka, because vodka strips. The purpose of vodka is to get drunk without tasting anything. So
That's the purpose.
That's the purpose of. That's why we have vodka.
There you go.
And so by distilling it really, really high off the still, you're getting rid of all of the flavor. Bourbon, they want to retain some of that grainy character, the corn. So
sure.
that's why that stipulation is there. So, and then
And it's got to be at least 80 proof, right?
in the bottle, it has to be at least 80 proof. But there's one more. When it goes into the barrel,
Okay.
it can be no higher than 125.
Okay.
So they're going to water it down to 125 and then put it in the barrel. And
Where it could gain proof or lose proof, right?
depending on where it goes in the
Depending on-
rickhouse.
yep. Okay.
There's no age stipulation whatsoever on bourbon. It could be in that barrel for 10 seconds and dump it right out, and
Interesting.
your distillery would probably go out of business.
Good bourbon.
Yeah,
but
but you could call that bourbon. It would be white.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
If it turns color very quickly.
Yeah.
If it was in the barrel for even a couple weeks, it would start to turn brown, and it would look like bourbon, but still taste like garbage.
Yeah.
And that's just straight the result of the charred barrel that brings the color.
Yeah. The char, yeah, exactly. Being charred, and when it gets pushed through that char layer, the char acts as like a carbon filter. Basically, it's just charcoal, and it gets into the good part of the oak, and that's where all your flavor comes from.
Yeah,
the sweetness and the vanilla and the vanilla of the oak, the leather, that kind of stuff on more well-aged bourbon. So yeah. But that's bourbon, and then rye whiskey basically would be 51% rye instead of corn. I'm not 100% sure how all those proofs work on rye whiskey. I believe they're similar, if not the same, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And you could have Canadian rye, obviously, like Crown Royal's Canadian rye, but it would be imported at that point. So
now rye whiskeys wouldn't necessarily have the new oak barrel requirement, would it?
They do.
They do. Okay.
So then
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
basically is bourbon without the corn.
Yeah,
but what if you didn't use a new oak barrel? What would it be?
You go straight to.
Okay.
It would be rye whiskey.
It would be. Yeah.
That is a question that I am not 100% sure
That's
on.
fine.
We'll add that to the list of things I'm going to have to research.
Yes, there were
this was a thrown together episode.
It sure was.
Fine.
Oh, this one is.
Most of them.
Now we're doing thrown together
preparation, but yeah.
All right. So where were we? So as we talk about, let's just go to bourbon at this point. So on a bourbon bottle, let's take like E.H. Taylor. Everybody's familiar with that tall yellow label E.H. Taylor bottle, and their most common bottle that you can find, sometimes you can find it on the shelf, is a small batch. So again, we already kind of talked about small batch. So small batch compared to what? But they also have in the same label, instead of printed small batch, it says single barrel. So there's single barrel. There's they have one called full proof. So like single barrel, that's just based. That one's pretty simple. Everything in that bottle came out of one barrel, and then they basically, once that barrel is bottled, they stop bottling that and switch to a different barrel, and it's another single barrel. So
now that
it's not blended at all.
You see that with a specialty, a one-off, maybe a store pick or something. But to have that be something that you can pretty much always get, E.H. Taylor or Four Roses single or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, you appreciate the inconsistency of it, but also
that's the thing.
How can they even know that this batch of single barrels is going to taste as good as the last?
Well, there's people that get paid a lot of money to taste every barrel, and when they find an excellent one, they mark that for single barrel. And but yeah, I mean, there's Wild Turkey has a single barrel, Four Roses, obviously Taylor, Blanton's is a single barrel. There's plenty of huge distilleries that make single barrel products. And that's what it is. There's plenty of other awesome barrels that go into the blend that make a small batch. Now,
do you think that they also try to make it somewhat consistent? Or do they go, no, this one's really different and really good, we're going to sell this as Blanton's or whatever? Or do they go, well, we'd really like it to taste like Blanton's? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they have all that much control in that. I think it's more like, in the past, every seventh barrel in the rick house ends up being a single barrel candidate, and then that's just kind of how it works,
Okay.
And some might be, Buffalo Trace is a little different. Like every bottle of Blanton's comes out of Rickhouse H, which is that kind of orange metal clad building right as you drive up to the parking lot there in Frankfurt. And so there's no Blanton's comes from any other rickhouse. So that's kind of, you're stuck there.
Yeah.
And then I would also assume that there's barrels in that rickhouse that don't taste that great, and they're not going to be a single barrel Blanton's. Okay. So they'll go into the blend and they'll make up some Buffalo Trace or whatever.
Okay.
So how do we know how the barrels that end up in Rickhouse H end up in Rickhouse H?
Probably that day they emptied some barrels and had room. And so time to fill it back up. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure how they... I mean, so like Buffalo Trace makes two different bourbon mash bills with rye in them, and Blanton's is, I think, mash bill B, the higher rye. And there's other products that are, like Rock Hill Farms is that same mash bill, but that would be stored in a different... You're not going to pull a Rock Hill Farms barrel from Rickhouse H. You're going to make all that Blanton's,
Yeah.
So I would say, okay, this week we're running mash bill B, and we're going to fill barrels, and we need 25 barrels to go into Rickhouse H because we just dumped that many, so time to fill those back up. That's kind of how I think it works.
Yeah, interesting. So mash bill B is going to be the recipe for Blanton's.
Yes, yeah. And 10 other brands that you've seen.
Yeah.
But,
Which brings up
blended to create the other ones.
Sometimes, yes, but sometimes it could also still be a single barrel, but just out of a different Rickhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Rock Hill Farms is the same thing as Blanton's, but just not Rickhouse H. And I think it's 100 proof instead of 93.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How much difference is it?
Not a ton, but I don't know. I prefer the higher proof, really. That's where I think it's better, but not a huge difference.
Yeah.
So that gets into another question I had, and maybe this is further down your list, Chris, but
possibly
the mash bill being a mystery or not. Sometimes it's on the label and you can see exactly what's in this.
Yeah, sometimes they print it
usually
right
I'd say
around the neck of the bottle, and it's like, that's exactly what's in there. I'm looking for a bottle that I laid somewhere. But
the mash bill essentially is the ingredient list.
Yeah, it's the percentage of the corn, the rye, and the malted barley, which is the most typical. You have other exceptions. You can use wheat, you can use oats, you can use whatever you want, but as long as it's a grain. To be whiskey.
Now, the fact that, like we said, Blanton's is mash bill B, but unless you really do some digging, we don't really know exactly what mash bill B or A is.
They're pretty tight-lipped on that. So
it's a secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices.
That's it. Yeah, Buffalo Trace is pretty guarded with their mash bills. A lot of other distilleries, it's out there. It's a very easy, quick Google search to find Jim Beam's mash bill or Wild Turkeys or whoever. They're just kind of saying like, well, go ahead, just start a distillery and make Jim Beam if you want.
I'm pretty sure I have the 11 herbs and spices in my cupboard at home, but I'm not making no KFC.
Right.
Yeah, you probably have them.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could try, different proportions of everything. So yeah, that's small batch. That's single barrel. There's other ones.
So let's back up just a hair for small batch.
Okay.
Now, go ahead.
Well, I
read my mind.
Yeah. Well, you were going to say, why did they start calling it small batch?
Sure.
No, you weren't.
That's precisely what I was going to say.
Well, I was going to say that kind of started the trend of like more. More high-end bourbons. So we, number one, we want to charge a little more for this product, and number two, people are asking for a higher-end product than just like regular Old Crow or Old Grandad or Jim Beam White Label, something cheap. Like we want something nice, so I want to spend $40 or $50 instead of just $20.
Okay, so
that's your small batch.
So define batch.
So I would say like one tank. That had so basically your barrels got dumped into a tank. The master taster, master blender, whoever that person is tasting as they go, and they usually are tasting the previous few batches.
Sure, for reference.
Yep, and then they'll say like, okay, the one I'm working on is a little lighter on oak, so find some oak forward barrels in whatever rickhouse you need, and we're going to dump those in. And so that's how they do that.
Tune it up, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there's potentially two types of smalls then, because there's a small amount of
barrels or
ingredients in the barrel. So how many they mix into one barrel?
Gotcha.
That could be a small amount, or is it a large amount?
I think they're more talking about
the
number
quantity of barrels produced
in that batch. Yeah, because to say that like a very small batch, like because there's some I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's something that says very small batch, and it's like we use no more than 3 barrels in this blend.
Yeah,
and that's just really taking that's more of like a single barrel type deal. Like you're just finding 3 barrels that. One might be caramel forward, one might be vanilla forward, one might be oak forward, and you're like, I want all 3 in one. And you blend those together, and you're like, "Ha, got it!" So, but there really is an art to it, more so than a single barrel. Because a single barrel, all they did was taste it and go, "That's good." Bottle it,
Yes, that's good enough. It passes.
Blend is, someone worried about that and really kind of put their stamp on it and said, "This is E.H. Taylor small batch today."
Right.
And you can't unblend it.
You can't unblend it. You can only add things to it. There's no more distilling happening after that.
It could become a medium batch. We needed to add a bunch of stuff to it because we didn't quite get it right.
Yeah, this small batch is more like a medium batch.
Well, that's my own nonsense, but a small batch.
I mean, it is interesting.
Funny.
I don't think there is a medium or large batch term. It's just like,
well, that wouldn't
They
be-
wouldn't want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then or small. Yeah,
I
it's
want
like,
the large batch
Yeah.
that everybody gets. That's not special at all.
Yeah. I want what everyone else drinks.
I want it all blended together. We're just going to come down on this.
I want the crazy bottle that the master distiller said this barrel is magic. Like that's what I want to drink. You know.
Yeah,
That's
the bespoke, one of a kind.
yes. That bring me that all day. So, yeah. Where were we? So
Let's see, what do we got?
we were on. Okay, so proof is another one. So, like I have right here, this is Steve's bottle of 1792 full proof. So it says full proof right on it. Mm-hmm. Their main staple core batch product is just called small batch, 1792 small batch. So they don't have like a bigger batch, like a cheaper one. Now they do make like very old Barton at the same distillery, so maybe that's what they're talking about. Like 1792 is a small batch, where Barton is just cheap stuff.
A little more mass.
Yeah, exactly. So, but this one is a special one-off of 1792, and it's full proof, and it is 125 proof.
So full proof and barrel proof. I feel like there's a third term that
Cast strength.
Yep.
Foolproof.
Foolproof. There's
Foolproof.
that. That's 4.
That all means the same thing, right? So
No. Close.
Okay.
That's puffery. That's not.
All right.
It is.
We found it.
That's not a legal definition.
Okay.
Not a legal term. So Sazerac, the company Sazerac owns Buffalo Trace, and they also own 1792. So Sazerac's full proof. Anytime you see it, like on the E.H. Taylor, on 1792, there's a handful of others that they have. Full proof means that it's 125 proof, which is the proof that it went into the barrel. So it's barrel proof. So out of the barrel, it might have been.
Right.
It would have had to have been higher. You're not gonna.
Right.
You can't get there the other way.
Yeah.
So they're watering it down to 125.
Okay.
If you see something that says cask strength, normally, again, that's a puffery term, but normally that means that that's the proof that it is right out of the barrel. So, I mean, literally take the barrel, dump it over into like a screen, basically, to take chunks out of it, and then right into the bottle. So no water added, no filtration, cask strength.
Cask strength.
That's
But
this,
as far as proof
still Austin.
goes, is it the same idea?
Cask strength does
how it
not
came
have
out of the
a
room.
number. It's just relative.
Yeah. Full proof and
It's
barrel
whatever
proof
it is.
could
And
be filtered and everything.
They have to say what it is. So this one happens to be 118, still Austin. Now this could be a blend. So not so a blend of many or maybe just 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. But if it was single barrel, they would write single barrel.
And that is still Austin cask strength.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm guessing this is probably 25 barrels. No water added to any of them, but they blended them all together and didn't add any water. So it's still cask strength, just not a single barrel. So you can have a single barrel cask strength. There's
Sure. So when they blend, there's a whole thing there too, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, same as like the small batch thing.
Yeah.
But with the small batch, you're normal. We didn't really say that, but on a small batch, typically like Elijah Craig and the H. Taylor, they're watering that down to 90, 94 proof, 100 proof. Well, 100 proof for Taylor because it's bottled and bond.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna steal that away from me, are you?
He's going to get blended.
Yeah.
Oops. So is but the
That's my phone.
the blend is another secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices. I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
Are they blending equal amounts of?
So I'm thinking like Still Austin is a very small distillery out of Austin, Texas, and they're probably not necessarily going for consistency. They're probably just trying to make awesome bourbon. Like, here's an awesome new blend. Try this one.
And each blend would then
And they just leave that off.
we're suggesting that blend is crafted.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Okay.
where you would kind of get into more like this is what craft whiskey is that I don't know. I don't want to say it that way that when you say craft it just means it's not consistent because that's not really fair.
I'm just saying
but
handpicked
kinda.
and monitored and tweaked
yeah.
and
and
doctored.
yeah, and I've had this conversation with Adam Stumpf too at Stumpy's when he blends Old Monroe. It's like number one is to just put the best product that you can in the bottle. That's number one. But number two, I mean, yeah, some consistency would be nice, but it's also like if you can get an awesome product in the bottle that doesn't taste like the last batch, so what? Like, get it in there and let's show people what we can do.
Well, and I think the flavor profile is going to have a huge impact. Well, the other way around, the distillery has the biggest impact on the flavor profile, and then the inconsistencies are far smaller.
Sure.
So the analogy would be like, Coca-Cola is brewed. Coca-Cola is blended and made at plants all over the place. That the whole mission is to make them exactly the same.
Right.
And in the case of this. The difference, you could probably have, like Stumpy, he could do 10 different runs, and they're all going to be slightly different, but they came from that place, so they have that flavor already.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and there's even some of the huge distilleries kind of have their own flavors that are typical. Like Wild Turkey, I always get a lot of like real dark cherry on Wild Turkey products, no matter what it is. Heaven Hill has a lot of like peanut kind of character. So there's a lot of, if you drink a lot of one distillery, you sort of get accustomed to that.
Yes.
And and so even when you're talking about craft, a lot of those distilleries, same way, they this is just what our whiskey tastes like.
It's the signature of the distillery.
And that's a good thing. So what other crazy stuff do I have here? Steve has a bottle of Chicken Cock Red Stave. So basically this is, and so I'm going to read the bottom of the bottle. It says Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey finished in Petite Syrah barrels. Did I say all that right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so this was bourbon, and then they took it out of the bourbon barrel, and put it into a wine barrel, which then became not bourbon anymore. So they can still write Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished because it was finished in this other barrel. But that whiskey in that bottle is not bourbon anymore because it's got a flavor added to it, which was one of the bourbon classifiers that we forgot to say.
Yeah.
Yep, no flavors added.
Yep. So then Kentucky Straight means it's not a blend.
No.
Okay.
We should have backed up to that too, actually. So there's a couple terms that mean some age. Again, you don't have to age your bourbon at all.
Yeah.
But when you do age it for 2 years, it becomes straight bourbon.
Aha.
Okay. So anything that says straight is at least 2 years old.
Good to know.
The next one would be bottled and bond. Anything that says bottled and bond is at least 4 years old.
Yeah.
And there's other things. We've talked about bottled and bond forever, so I'm not going to go into all those details. But when you see straight, it's 2, bottled and bond is 4, and that's really it as far as age statement things, unless the distillery offers up their own age statement, like we're already to my last bottle.
There's so many bottles on the table right now.
I hope this table can hold it. Please have it on there. It doesn't have it. This is not the 12-year. Okay, so this is Lucky 7 Holiday Toast. They make a 12-year. I think it's I forget which release it is. But it says 12-year on it. Everything in that jar, or in the jar. I drink my whiskey out of jars.
Whiskey in the jar.
Gee whiz.
It's an Irish folk song.
How much bourbon have I had already? It's only 2, I know. So everything in that bottle is at least 12 years old. It could be 15, it could be 20, but if the youngest drop of bourbon is 12, you got to write 12 on it. So that's if you see an age statement. And
it's
so
minimum guaranteed that.
Exactly. Heaven Hill bottled and bond is a 7-year age statement, and I've heard, which you can say it, but
there's lore.
It means nothing legally. So, but I've heard from people that work at Heaven Hill that in that 7-year bottle there is 8, 9, 10, and up to 12-year-old stuff in there. And so again, when you're a giant company like Heaven Hill with millions of barrels to pick from, you might have this lot of 12-year-old barrels that just doesn't fit anything else. And it's like, well, this would actually complement this blend of Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond that I'm working on. So let's pull them and throw them in. So
they can't call it 12-year.
No,
but they can.
But it's in there. Yeah,
may include.
And not even. That's right. I misspoke there. That wasn't even Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond 7-year that we were talking about. We were talking about regular Elijah Craig, which Heaven Hill also makes. But it used to have a 12-year age statement on it, and they had to take that off because they were running out of bourbon with the bourbon boom. So I'm talking like close to 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
It used to be a 12-year age statement. And yeah, so now they say like the majority of the whiskey in there is still 12 years old, but there is a little bit of 8, 9, and 10 years. That's what it was.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're under no obligation to share how much of which.
Exactly. Yep. So there's no age statement on it at all. It could be. I think it's a straight, so it's at least two.
At least two.
But that's all you get.
Yeah.
But unless you like talk to someone at the gift shop like I did, and
Now, you've been
tell me about the age of your bourbon.
you've been drinking whiskey longer than most of us.
My whole life.
Do you find that
Just today alone.
you can tell when they change? Oh, this is definitely after they change their age statement. It's got some young stuff mixed in there. Are you like, it's all the same to me?
I am a happy bourbon drinker, so I don't think about it that hard. I just kind of throw it in the glass and taste and go, that's either really good or I'm just not into it.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I would think most
I don't
people
analyze,
fall into that category.
Yeah. Now beer, that's where I get snobby, and
Sure.
that's why beer is work and bourbon is fun for me. I mean, beer's still fun, obviously, but yeah, it's.
I always
feel like
find
that's
when
my
I come into
job.
the brewery, I ask, "How old is this beer, Chris?" Jeez.
How old is this one?
Age statement on this tap
Yeah,
handle.
I'm gonna need the age statement. Can I see the born on date on
How
this
old
thing?
is this
Good Lord! Didn't you make this beer 3 years ago?
Oh, man, that's great.
Thanks, Jared.
Sure.
What a pal.
Well, maybe the bourbon's more fun for you because you don't make it.
Well, that's true too. I don't have to analyze it.
Yeah.
and there's nothing in it for me.
You're not compelled
Yeah.
to try and figure it out.
Yeah. It's what I wish that I could still be for beer, of just a thumbs up, thumbs down drinker. Like I just want to try it and either give it a thumbs up, like, yep, I'll have another one, or thumbs down, like, yep, I'm just going to pass on that one next time.
You could do that. You'd have to wear like a mask or something to disguise your identity, but you could do that.
Drink my own beer and just like leave it on the bar and be like, pour me a different one.
Well, you could go anywhere, but just
Yeah,
leave the persona, somewhere else, and just say I'm a spectator tonight.
I have gotten a lot better at that in recent years.
Believe me, I get it, especially in my world, to go to a car show,
Sure.
and not go be critical of anything, and just go there to enjoy it.
Right.
And it's fun.
Like, sure, they might not have, whatever, stripped the car all the way down the frame or whatever, but like, it's still a cool car. Or
For sure,
It doesn't have to be.
I always try to find something enjoyable about anything.
Sure.
Like it doesn't matter if it's some kind of could be conceived as a flaw or a poor choice of something. And I do that with, for bourbon and with eating at a restaurant or whatever. You try and find something you like about it.
Right. Yeah. Don't look for. Yeah. Don't be that guy. Always
Yeah.
looking for the negative and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the genesis of that, in my feeble mind, is that if you tell somebody some good news, it's it doesn't do much. Tell people bad news, and then they listen to you, right? Like if you came in and said, "Did you hear what happened? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I got this this
Now
this
you got the
gossip."
juicy gossip. Bring
Right.
it on.
So, so there are people that don't do anything important in their life, and the only way they get the attention is to spew bad or negative
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
And we see that, I think, with people that are tasting beers or whatever. Oh, well, that guy found something negative. He must be an expert.
Right.
He probably has lots of other awesome opinions. I'm
Yeah,
going to definitely
right.
listen to him. Or not.
You just described most podcasters, by the way.
Yeah, way to go.
Nice.
So you touched on it briefly. The proof. Most people know that it's double the percentage of alcohol. Why not just say the percentage of alcohol instead of
Times
making
two.
this
Well,
proof number?
because you need to at least be able to do that math
Right,
in order to
before
have
they'll-
another drink. Yeah. If you can't
Oh,
double
man, really?
a number, yeah,
Because sometimes you got these odd decimals in there.
they
and it gets
do
a
get
little,
tricky. Yep. Oh, I've been hung up on them for sure. Believe it or not. Yeah.
We don't know where that came from. Somebody just.
No, I don't know what the.
long time ago
I did
said,
hear
"You
a
know
story about proof. It's something about they called it the word proof because something like I don't know. This is proof that whatever will get you drunk or something. I'm
Okay.
not sure what the.
I seem to think that it has something to do with the chemistry behind it, just the language of chemistry.
Yeah.
You proof something.
Proof it down or whatever,
yeah,
yep.
something like that.
Okay.
I don't quote me on that at all.
We'll
But
go with
Well,
that.
some Kentucky dude with a couple teeth told me that somebody's grandpappy told him that it was proof that
it's
whatever.
It's gonna.
There's the third thing we have to
mess
look
you
up.
up.
Where did
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Let's see. What was the
So
other?
now, of the language that we've been
Yeah.
discussing on the labels, none of this is required legally, except for the BBT, TTB.
TTB, yeah. So like the TTB wants to have, you have to have the obviously the brand. You have to show the proof. You have to
Is it
say
the size, the quantity,
milliliters. Yeah, in milliliters, and government warning. Obviously, what else?
You're gonna like this.
Yeah.
I will read the
it's
entire
good.
government warning in German. Here we go.
Oh boy.
No, I will not. And so I'm not 100% sure if it needs to say distilled in, but most do. And I think that
I
I
think
want to
that's
say
kind of
that
marketing too, though.
I want to say that it is required to say the state that it was distilled in.
This is made in USA on it.
Well, that's good. Does it say it does not say state?
Well, not that I can see from here, but I'll tell you what. Well, there's a city in the kind of the logo above it, but the Made in USA thing, I believe, goes to international
Yeah.
distribution, and you have to have country of origin if you're going to
Sure.
export. So
Yep.
that's probably where that is.
And in Vermont, you can get 15 cents for that bottle.
When I export this to the country of Vermont, I'm going to get my wooden nickel.
Now I noticed on this Old Pepper distillery, it says Kentucky's oldest brand,
Yeah.
and I feel like I see that on a lot of different brands.
Well,
Aren't they all making that
no,
claim?
This one here, the chicken cock is the famous old brand.
The famous,
famous
old
old
brand.
brand, yeah.
So this is the oldest, but it's not famous.
No,
because
this is the
chicken
famous
cock
old
is.
brand. Yeah.
Kentucky's oldest brand. Yeah, it sure says that, doesn't it?
Bardstown, Kentucky.
I feel like you see that.
There-
There's like the oldest distillery or the oldest
Brewery.
I don't know.
And
Well,
I've seen
and it
that
might
more
not
than
even
once.
necessarily be like Old
Old
Pepper
Pepper. It could
is
be
the oldest
whoever
brand.
owns
It.
it.
Might be, well, this company that bought us used to own that company
Yeah.
and used to own that company. And so we're just the same lineage, so we're going to write on our label because we can.
does that say the oldest brand of whiskey or just the oldest brand in
Oldest
Kentucky?
brand. Yeah, it's just
Right.
oldest brand. Like
That's
older than KFC?
Yeah.
No way.
This is older than Planters peanuts.
Okay, now along those lines, I was wondering about this too. The label appeared DSP KY5.
Yeah.
That means something, right?
That does mean something, which would also be BS and puffery because if you're the oldest brand, wouldn't you be KY-1?
You would
All
think.
right, so
which-
hold on, a little context here. So we're talking about this. What do you call that label across the top of the cap?
So
Is that a strap
that's
or
supposed to mimic like the old school tax stamps, like on a bottled and bond.
Yeah. Do they call that something, or just?
I'm sure they do. That'd be the fourth thing I have to look up.
I'm gonna call it the tax
What
strap.
else don't you know, Chris?
Yeah. Do you have any other questions I don't know? God.
Well, you said, man.
I thought I was. I mean, I drank whiskey all
Right?
weekend, geared up for this. I was like, I got this. Bring it on. Yeah.
So this decorative seal, if you will.
Yeah. And so yeah, this one says DSP KY5, which DSP is distilled spirits producer. See, I know that.
Oh, wow.
Bingo.
And then
Yeah,
it's
wow.
the
No,
fifth one. So there's
Kentucky, right?
in Kentucky. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So each state starts over. So
So somebody was brewing that before they named it.
how do you know?
Or they named it, well, if it's the oldest brand, it was being distilled before it was branded.
Well, I'm just saying there's 4 other distilleries that had
Ahead of it-
numbers
ahead of it.
before they did.
yeah,
could
but if
be-
that's the oldest brand, those other 4 weren't branded. They were
Right.
just
Yeah.
Pappy Shine out and back or
Right.
something.
Oh, you think the word brand is...
The brand.
You're probably right, because
Or
I think
old-
Evan Williams is one.
Yeah,
Evan
Old
Williams-
Pepper could have been a spice brand or something before it was a distillery, and they switched over to making whiskey.
Yeah, it
and
could be.
Their brand is older.
I'm almost... I mean, Steve's probably got a bottle of Evan Williams somewhere here, but...
Yes, there is.
Anyone got a
with
bottle
with a
of
story, by the
Evan
way.
Williams?
Yeah.
Here comes...
Yes.
Yeah,
This-
what's
this
the
is-
DSP number on that?
DMV number?
Yeah, the DMV number.
The DMV number, yeah, the digital signal processor.
So...
Can you find it?
Evan Williams was... Well, I'll tell the story
It's got
after I
number 1 on
know
the
that
back,
it's number
never-
1.
It literally says Kentucky's first distiller.
Now, does that help?
So here's the first brand. There's the first distiller. So I think Evan Williams was the first guy to pay tax. So he was number 1. But yeah,
Aha.
he probably didn't call it Evan Williams, he probably just said, "This is my whiskey, and I got to pay tax on it because now the government's involved."
It'd be interesting to know if it was known as that or what it was called originally.
I'm not seeing it. Go for it. Go for it.
They don't make it without the DSP.
You would
number.
think.
Well, that looks like that one could have been removed easily. So, I mean, maybe,
Yeah.
was it across? Well, there is no other. There is a thing that you peel off on the
Yeah.
top of that, but
Oh, maybe it was on that.
yeah, again, peeled and thrown.
Yeah, I don't see it. This
It
isn't
says
good.
since 1783. That's got to be older than
I'm gonna just
1792.
guess that it's probably the first one.
Yeah.
Is that good enough?
My dad had a thing that he would do. Where I grew up, you had to have city stickers, right? So you register your
Oh,
car.
yeah.
You pay a little extra, money to the city and get a city sticker.
Uh-huh.
And when he had motorcycles, that was also a license plate tag in addition to your registration sticker. You had this registration tag. And he always thought it was fun to get tag number 1. And I have a couple of these from like 1983,
Yeah.
84, and it's license plate number 1. And somebody at the city said, not where, but how did you get that? And he said, well, I was first, And they all of a sudden mandated that the first like 3 or 4 numbers were not available to regular
jerks.
plebeians. They were reserved now for specialer people.
Really?
Yeah,
That's funny.
Which makes that even more unique that you have those.
for sure.
Absolutely. All right.
That's like the first Corvette or the first, NSX. It always goes to
Yeah,
Jay Leno or somebody. Or
yeah.
DSP1, KY1 is Heaven Hill, which basically that does come from Evan Williams since they own that brand. But yeah, number 2 is Bernheim. Number 3 is Old Pogue. Number 4 is Hermitage. And number 5 is Sunnybrook. Not
So
Old Pepper.
wait a minute.
Well-
Yeah.
Are we uncovering something here?
I mean, that's according to this janky website that I'm on. but-
Google's always right.
yeah, I trust Google to not send me to the wrong
No,
one.
I was hoping this became investigative reporting here.
Yeah, so Sunnybrook. Oh, yeah, Sunnybrook. No, it
No,
doesn't
it's
say
not,
that.
huh?
But I bet Sunnybrook owns James Pepper,
Yeah.
or something,
Right.
Probably. I guess.
Very interesting.
But that gets into the more of the, what'd you call it? Puffery?
Puffery.
Puffery.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
everybody claims to be the oldest, goes back to the
So-
1700s.
That number is legit then. That's not puffery.
Right.
Yeah,
That
correct.
that has to be their number, and I think it has to say it like on the box, like on the case box. Like it has to. There are places that has to say it. Most say it on their bottles, but yeah, it's weird that the Evan Williams one. It literally says Kentucky's first distiller, but it just doesn't say DSPKY1.
Not the first one to pay taxes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, it wasn't us. We weren't the first one. So
So today, the state still uses that number to catalog who pays
yeah.
taxes?
Yep. I think that's like how you enter their system and pay them all your money.
Interesting, yeah.
So the other last kind of interesting thing that I really had on this was the where it says like it has to say, I believe it needs to say on every bottle that it's distilled and bottled by whatever, or it needs to say some kind of origin state, right? So like this one, the Still Austin says distilled and bottled by Still Austin Whiskey Company, Manor, Texas. So it's not even Austin; it's Manor.
Well, maybe Google how far Manor is.
Maybe
from
it's like
Austin.
a suburb.
It's Austin
All
adjacent.
right, I'm gonna give them a pass on that
Austin
because
adjacent.
I feel like I've Googled enough on this episode.
It's a special, district of Austin.
Okay, this one goes a little further. The holiday toast from Lucky 7. It says Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, distilled in Kentucky,
Somewhere.
bottled by Bardstown Bourbon Company for Lucky 7 Spirits, Bardstown, Kentucky.
Okay,
Got
so
all
let's
that?
break that down. So
Yeah,
it's
wait, one more
distilled in
time?
Kentucky, but it doesn't say by who or where.
Right.
So
Likely-
that means
likely-
they could be sourcing it from multiple places? Or
Likely
one?
Barton, I would
Okay.
guess. It is, because I think they have some ties there.
And then bottled by
Bardstown Bourbon Company
for
for Lucky 7
Lucky
Spirits.
which is not the same company or ownership
No.
or whatever?
No.
Okay.
So it's
So
private
Lucky
label.
Seven
Bardstown
came
Bourbon
along
Company
and said-
does a lot of contract work, so
Yeah.
that's just one of the contracts that they have.
Okay.
So it probably would have been blended at Bardstown Bourbon Company, bottled, all that stuff. Where was the other interesting one that I had here?
Maybe.
Distilled and bottled by. So there's a few others. What's the chicken cock? Actually, let me see that one. So this one says. Oh no, it wasn't. It says you're right. It says made in USA. So that's where I think it
Way
doesn't.
at the bottom, I think, and very, very tiny. It might say something. Does it? I know the fine print on the front. There's definitely fine print.
Okay, yeah, you're right. It says bottled by Grain and Barrel Spirits, Bardstown, Kentucky. So Grain and Barrel is like their parent company, and that just says bottled, so it does not say where it was distilled. So this could be made anywhere, right? There are some labels that are kind of interesting that they'll say like distilled in Indiana. So normally you can assume that's MGP, huge contract distillery, and then it'll say like aged and bottled in Kentucky, and then it could even go further and be like Bowman Brothers is owned by Sazerac, so they actually take barrels that are made at Buffalo Trace and they ship them to Virginia and they're aged and blended and bottled there. So that's an interesting bottle label to see.
Wow.
I think I remember Four Roses saying they bottle theirs, but not at the facility where they distill it. So
Yeah, but it's all still
is it
Kentucky.
still Kentucky? Yeah. Okay. So that probably just says bottled and distilled by Four Roses or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So in that case, they would transfer the barrels. They would transport the
I think
barrels.
it's a big tanker truck. Or
Yeah,
something,
they
right?
deliver White Dog in a tanker truck to Cox's Creek in Kentucky, and that's where all their warehouses are. And so they barrel them there, age them, and then dump barrels there and bottle.
Is it an aged charred tanker truck?
Wouldn't that be neat?
Well, I mean, we're introducing something here, right?
Here we go.
Yeah. That'd be funny to see a big oak tanker driving down the highway, leaking out the
Leaking, yeah. Follow that truck.
Yeah, everybody licking the ground behind it.
Right. But no, I just wanted to kind of do. I've been wanting to do an episode on this stuff for a while.
That is interesting.
We see it a lot just at our bottle shop. Somebody will be staring at it for a while and like, it's whatever. That's a $90 bottle, and all I know is what the front of the label says.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know what's what? And yeah, some of it is just complete BS that they want to sell bottles, so they're going to write whatever they can to, like the famous old brand or the the first brand ever. Or
I think it gets hard for me. It's like if you're actually looking for something specific, like, well, I feel like I know I like stuff that's bottled by Bardstown Bourbon Company, but what brands are Bardstown,
right?
Or whatever. And then when you start looking for that, it's like, well, they don't all say, and some of them do. And did this one really come from that? Was it distilled by them, or did they just bottle it? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't care about their bottling line, but if they made it,
sure.
You
You just got to drink it.
You got to open the bottle.
You got to crack it open.
Because
You
I'm
gotta take the chance.
I'm looking at one of the many shelves of bourbons in this room that we're in, and if I thought to your logic, like, I remember that last one I really liked, and it was kind of a darker color.
Yeah, right.
Well, maybe not. But it said this on the label, and it said this, but they don't add up.
Yeah,
you're right.
Got to crack it open and drink it.
You got to. Yeah, and luckily, like in our situation, most of the bottles we sell in our bottle shop, we do have available for sale by the pour at our bar. So that's a good way to do it, especially on a higher end bottle. Like it sucks to take a chance on a $90 bottle and then get burned on it.
Oh no, I'm going to like that one.
No, I will force myself to like.
I'll tell you what, if I spend some good money on it, I'm going to like it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I also am curious to know, as is everybody else.
Yeah.
Did you pronounce it correctly? And what does it mean?
That only Tyler will know
Tyler will
that.
let you
He
know.
will definitely let me know.
I'm pretty sure there's others out there too.
Tyler, you better clear your calendar because you're getting asked to come on here.
There's a few other listeners that wince every time.
I'm sure. Oh, okay. Now I have to pronounce it after 4 bourbons here. So let's see. We're going to go with Scheibenkleister.
Correct.
Of course.
Is that how I said it last time?
I think so.
Okay. All right. At least I'm consistent.
That's how you incorrectly pronounced it last time.
All right. So Jared said pole vaulter. Yeah. And then Kevin said it was slang for a misleading brewery owner. Turd.
I wonder where that came from.
Scheibenkleister is basically it's basically like saying like son of a biscuit. Like when there's a kid there and you don't want to full on cuss, but you need to. It's like that. Instead of saying Scheiße, you say Scheibenkleister.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
I was closer
Yeah.
because
Deceptive.
It's slang.
Deceptive and slang. Yeah, I thought you were on to me there for a second. I was like, ooh, he's going to
I
get
know,
this.
that was interesting.
Great grandma might have said it to him. You little
No,
Scheibenkleister.
she said it straight up. There was no holding back. My grandmother.
Scheiße head.
No, I
So,
don't know
think-
if I ever told you what one of my grandmother's endearing nicknames for me was.
I think you. What was it?
And because we can, we will. That would be Hundscheiß.
Which is
Dog shit.
dog shit. I knew the second half. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Now I know.
Hundscheiß.
Yeah.
Hund.
I
Like
know
a
them
hound.
both.
A hound.
I know
Hund.
them both.
Thanks, Grandma.
Oh, little dog shit. God, that's awesome. But yeah, the literal translation is window pane glue. I guess if you're like gluing.
Well, that's what I was going
window.
for.
Yeah.
Oh, say this again. What is it?
Scheibenkleister.
I need a aerosol can of Scheibenkleister because my window fell out.
Right. Yeah.
Window pane glue.
Oh, I really know you meant to swear. This is an easy language to follow.
It's simple, right?
Scheibenkleister.
Yeah, I was reading it and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense at all. Perfect.
Son of a
Thanks.
biscuit.
Son of a beastie.
Scheibenkleister.
You Scheibenkleister.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna bring that into my daily.
Sucker punch. Same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Shut the front door.
That's
You're
it.
going to let the Scheibenkleister out.
Or the Hundscheiß.
Yes. Don't step in it.
Yeah.
Well, that was outstanding. This was a very enlightening episode. And,
Oh, great.
I think breaking down some of those terms helps those who feel, a little, dare I say, excluded and a little bit out of the circle,
Sure.
when you go to order something because you feel like maybe I should know what this means. But it's
Yeah.
kind of nice to know that a lot of it is nonsense.
Yeah, just play this podcast on your way to the brewery and then you'll be ready to go.
Every time.
You'll be a pro.
Yeah, awesome. Well, this was fun. If
It
you
was fun.
if you enjoyed this, you should subscribe
Yeah, for sure.
because who knows what other fun you might be missing out on, right, Jared?
Absolutely. Who knows what kind of pronunciations you'll hear next time?
Right. And subscribe, hit the like button, leave comments. One more quick thing I want to add as far as comments. If you go to the Stubborn German Facebook page and you make a comment and somebody from a country that's not Waterloo, Illinois tries to sell you a T-shirt, don't buy it.
Did you buy one?
I didn't fit. No, I didn't buy it.
I was going to.
Didn't you see the comment I,
haven't
left
got
on
it.
that?
No, I
Are you
didn't
familiar
yet.
what's going on here?
Yeah.
Oh, they
I've
do
gotten
it
a
all the
lot of
time.
those, yeah.
Normally we get to them right away, but
Yeah.
it's tough. Yeah, so
you commented
anytime
on it?
we show like our can fridge or bottle shop, stuff, we have a separate Facebook page just for the bottle shop.
Yeah.
And that one's really bad. As soon as you write, bourbon bottles just came in today, there'll be 2-3 people saying, I have the bourbon bottles. Message me, private message me. They never want to do it out
Yeah.
in public. It's
Well,
it's
the one that I
private
got
message.
was if I wanted to buy a Stubborn German podcast T-shirt.
Oh, the
Oh,
podcast
wow.
T-shirt. That's right.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow.
did see that one.
I may have known that those existed without finding it as a comment from, Romania or
Right,
something on your
Well, I didn't want to tell you, Kevin. But
Yeah.
happy birthday.
We have been contracting from Romania.
We got
So-
Romanian
podcast
t-shirts made.
T-shirt.
So I flagged it, and I made somebody said something, and then there was another one that said that same person was like, "Well, what design would you like?" And I said, "Do you have one that looks like the inside of a federal prison?"
Nice.
Because that's where you belong.
That's right. only buy the authentic Stubborn wear.
right.
Kevin's flaming
Yes.
spammers on Facebook.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Found my purpose. All right, friends. Well, this was a lot of fun,
It was.
and we're going to wrap this one up. It's because you got to save your listening stamina for the next one.
That's right.
That's right.
Do this again.
So as we do this at all of our Stubborn German podcasts, for Mr. Chris, Ron, Jared, Chasson, and myself,
Prost.
We are recording.
We are.
all right.
Oh, God.
Do you have a word?
I think so. I got to make sure to pronounce it right.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of static.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it.
You've got
'cause
actual
it's-
Germans
it's a
listening?
thing.
Or?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
Man.
It's not good. It's not good. All right, I am ready.
One of these glasses is not like the other.
Oh, you don't
That's
have any
okay.
bourbon in
I
your
got
glass.
I didn't fill it. Yeah.
You just got
You
a
should
glass and
just-
didn't fill
Well,
it?
I
You know,
thought we were going to be doing all
What do
these
you
that
wanna
are
drink?
sitting over
You
here.
want this one?
Sure, I don't
Just
even know what
grabbing
this.
a bottle.
Yep.
I think there's whiskey in it.
Hold on. Can you serve me a drink? Kidding.
Kidding. Can you pour me a beer? All right. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. I'm not planning on like making us drink all these necessarily. I'm just
That whole thing's getting in the outtakes.
All of them.
what? All that?
All of that'll be in the outtakes.
Tammy will be so happy. She's got 10 minutes.
We
of
need more
nothing.
BS.
Well, and proof that you're not going to make us drink all of them.
Right.
So that's good. What the intention was, anyway.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, that's right.
All right, here we go.